All right.
They're so lucky to have their own newspaper.
All right.
I know.
It's a great newspaper,
Wish we had one.
but I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Nice person. It's nice. Okay.
There was no much strong.
All righty.
I remember the name. I don't remember.
Anyone
Post it
wants-
right back to that.
Okay, we're gonna get going here.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay.
What happened to Neil? Did he disappear?
He's coming.
Oh.
I think.
We can start. He'll come in.
He'll come in. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. You gentlemen have a lot to talk about. All right, good. All right, so welcome to the September 9th meeting of the Hyde Park Town Board. Please join me while we pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of the August 12th meeting?
Make a motion?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I'm going to need a few other motions. One is to pull resolution number 5, which is authorizing the town to create a new full-time deputy building inspector. We have the public hearing and all that is all copacetic. It's just we had a little snafu in terms of timing. So we're going to put that on the agenda on the 23rd.
So I make a motion to pull resolution number 5.
I second that.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Also like a motion to set a special meeting on Monday, September 30th at 7 p.m. And we realize it's Rosh Hashanah, but it's mandatory for us to, for the town clerk to present the supervisor's budget prior to October 7th. So this is a good day, and we'll make it a short meeting. So may I have a motion to set
I
that?
make a motion?
And I second?
September 30th, 7 p.m. for a special meeting. And a second?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So we have a public hearing on the agenda, and that is to provide for the Office of Deputy Building Inspector and set forth the powers and duties of said officer. So actually, can I have that newspaper word? I'm really excited about the town adding a building inspector to our town staff. We're becoming quite a busy place. We've got a lot of development going on between the sake manufacturing and the hotel, and a lot of smaller projects as well. And so those require the involvement, of course, of the building inspector. And the other part of the building inspector's position, as well as the zoning administrator, is to enforce our laws. And that can be a very, very time-consuming and tedious process. So, for a couple years, I've been looking for a building inspector to add to our staff to pull some of those duties away from the department heads. And I've had the good fortune to find someone. His name is Fred Riley, and he'll be coming to Hyde Park from the town of Lloyd, where he serves as building inspector. So it's really good news for the town. We'll be able to keep up with the fire inspections that are required for multifamily and commercial space. We'll be able to enforce the property maintenance code as well as the zoning code. And I'm sure my board would agree that that is one of our most frequent complaints.
Certainly is.
Is those items. And so we will be appointing, hopefully passing this law on the 23rd, and as well as appointing Fred Riley. And I have this newspaper because there's an article about Mr. Riley in it that I happened to read. And he sounds like just a great person. He's voluntarily taking on the repair of a church in Highland, and so I was just really happy to see that we're hiring a really nice person as well as a competent person.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Terrific.
So that's good. So we'll welcome him on the 23rd.
Great.
So would anyone like to speak on this local law? Okay, so we'll move on. Can I go ahead and close that public hearing then, Warren? Oh, no, I can't.
No, we can't
because we need the referral, the response.
Oh, no, we can close the public hearing.
Even though we don't have the response from the planning board?
Yeah, I mean, if
Or
we,
the-
if we change it, we Let's keep the public hearing on.
Okay, so we'll continue it to.
Just in case we make a tweak to the law, depending on
Okay, to September 23rd. Okay, so moving on, we have a number of workshops. Oh, I'm sorry, so
Just a motion, a second, and a
I
vote.
need a motion and a second.
I make a motion?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moving on to the workshop, we have a bunch of items on there, and I'd like to ask our new recreation director to just join us over here at the table, and I'd like to also welcome Rob Pollard to the town of Hyde Park. He has been working really hard and diligently the last, how long have you been here, Rob?
Almost 3 weeks now.
Almost 3 weeks. So, I just asked Rob to come on in, and so the public can get an opportunity to just hear a little bit about Rob and what he's looking at, what he's found out so far, and kind of an overview of what we're looking to do in the future.
Well, I think right now, after looking at all the parks, we had that meeting the other day. I think I just want to get all the parks kind of up to a certain standard and have them all follow that standard. And then once we do that, we can start looking at some of the other improvements that were suggested. So that's the immediate future. And farther out, we're looking to do a bigger project with some possible funds from grants.
Yeah.
So right now, we just want to get everything looking the same, looking nice, and go from there.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we've talked about doing is a survey to get out to the public to find out where their interests lie and what they'd like to see in their parks. But of course, I have to preface that with saying within reason, because many people don't know the way the town is organized, and in fact, what we have is a rec commission in addition to the town board, and the rec commission is charged with the developing projects for the parks. And so Rob's job is really kind of to be a liaison along with Joe Marine to the rec commission, and the town board would like to work closely with the rec commission on improving our parks, but again, it has to be with the eye to keeping taxes under control. We did have the opportunity last week to meet with with 4 parents, and they had a lot of input and a lot of ideas and what they'd like to see. They were all young moms and a young dad, and they, have slightly different needs than the more established or older families and seniors. So it was great to meet with them, though, because they give us a lot of feedback on what they'd like to see. And that will kind of segue into our next discussion with Pete Sotero on the Community Development Block Grant. And so part of the plan is for Rob, and he's already been working on developing a survey, which we will put out to the public. And we'll put out through the email system, put it on Facebook. Perhaps we can even send it through the schools, put it at the senior center, and really get feedback from all the residents on what they'd like to see. And I was just talking with Rob about it a little bit, and he's going to include in the survey, which I think is a really good idea, kind of a statement which ties it to reality in the sense, would you like to see this improvement, and how much would you be willing to pay and increase taxes to have something like this in your town? Now, just to get back to the way the town is organized, we do have a recreation trust fund that is funded from when properties are subdivided or new residential units are created, that there is an assessment provided to the developer that goes into a fund that we can use to develop park improvements. It's not for repairs or maintenance, but really for improvements. And so actually, to close the loop on something, a few, 6 weeks back or so, we put out a project to bid for pickleball courts and basketball courts at Dinsmore at the request of the Rec Commission. And we did get the response back from 2 contractors, and the bids came in at $220,000 and $180,000. And the Rec Commission at their last meeting, it's my understanding
Yep.
that they rejected those, Rob?
Yeah, because that basically was half of the fund.
Half
And
of
they
what's in
didn't-
the Rec Trust
and they
Fund.
didn't want to, apply that to one project, I guess, so.
Yeah. So, I think what we're going to do is kind of stand back, take another look after we get the information from the survey. And I don't know if the board has any input on that particular item, or,
No, I'm happy to see, get a survey to really see what the residents are looking for. I mean, we are a very diverse community here where we do have a lot of seniors, but we also want to attract, young families. And, I know our park system, we have beautiful walking trails, we have the disc golf, we do have a lot to offer. But when it comes to like a really nice, play set and things like that, we really don't offer that for a young family. So, I would personally like to see something like that. And I guess my only comment about the balance that they have is that really, they shouldn't be sitting on that for a long time. And my opinion is, that money is there to improve the parks. And, if we spend the money to improve the parks, that's what the money's there for. I always hate when people kind of hoard the money and it just sits there and they get kind of paralyzed because they don't want to spend the money. But on the other hand, our parks are definitely in need of some improvements. And, I think we've done a great job here as a town board, helping out the highway department, the police department. And I think the next step is really the recreation department. So I'm happy that you're on board. I'm happy that you have some fresh eyes. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have, what you think some of the improvements should be and what we can do. And so I'm excited about hearing that from you.
yeah, so Rob's job is multifaceted in the sense that not only is he in charge of the facilities, but there's also programming, that part. And the people that we met with had some thoughts on that as well. And
Good.
I think that I'm looking forward to exploring that too. And so I'm sure that, Rob, you'll be at the community,
Yep.
Hyde Park Community
Yep.
Day this coming Saturday at Hackett Hill
Yep.
from 1 to 5. So I hope people stop by and say hello. And I'm just happy to have you here. It was a little tough this summer because we did not have a rec director, and there were a lot of holes there. And so I know you've hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And
Well, I look forward to meeting everybody and getting their points of view and stuff and what they also think that
Okay.
the town needs, But I think the survey is a good step. If we get the right survey out to everybody,
good.
we can get some good feedback.
And Pete Sotero's here, and he's our engineer to the town. And maybe you want to come on up, Pete? And I know that you're going to talk with Howie too, but this kind of overlaps because one of the other items on the agenda is the discussion on the community development block grant funding. And Rob and I met with Ann Saylor last week, Friday I think it was. I don't know, Thursday, one of those days. And, we're kicking around various projects. We always apply for community development block grant funding. That's how we've funded a number of sidewalks in town, East Market, Farm Lane, and Pine Woods. And so, but I think we feel a little bit that we've saturated that, and maybe now it's time to look at a couple other possible items. And Rob and I were chatting with Ann, and we kind of came up with an idea. So I don't know, Pete, if you want to talk about it.
Do you want to get into that one now, the CDBG?
Yeah, let's talk as long as Rob is
Okay,
here.
sure.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, so I had sent around an email that that Caroline had forwarded to all the town board members. And I believe that she sent everybody the package, which is basically the same, as last year. They have, typically we would apply for either a public facility improvement, which would be a sidewalk, a water line or something like that. And so you're allowed up to $150,000 for that, for a public facilities improvement. And you're allowed up to $100,000 for handicap accessibility and parks improvements. So as far as the timeline goes, we're here now, so we're having our initial discussion. The next town board meeting is September the 23rd. So what we thought was, obviously, we're going to be kicking around things like tonight, so we figured that on the 23rd, we'll come back and report on some more details of what we talk about. And then at the 23rd meeting, we would set a public hearing for the October 7th town board meeting, because we have to have a public hearing prior to submitting the application. And then the application is due on October the 18th. So if we do the public hearing on the 7th, that would give me about 10 days or so, which is not a problem, to prepare the application and submit it. So we also have to submit to the county what they call a letter of intent by October the 4th. Basically, they want to know what your project is by October the 4th, so that they can just look at it and basically pre-qualify it, so that nobody hands in something that's not going to go and qualify. So we have to do that by October the 4th, and we'll know by then what we're going to do. So
Pete, the handicap accessible, that's only for parks, or is that for?
no, that's handicap accessibility at facilities, like if here, or I don't know if you can use it for like sidewalk type improvements.
Yeah,
but
I was just thinking, I know that, we might have plans on, moving downstairs up here and then moving over to the town court facility. But I was also thinking, could we use the CBD, the grant for some sort of handicap accessibility to go down the stairs, like, one of those chairs that go down the stairs? I mean, would that qualify?
Well, we did talk, so that
we
was-
smiled because, we talked about that like
Yeah.
today, maybe you
Oh, that's
wanted
fine.
That's
to.
the second part of the, so, we're kicking around different ideas. One is the park improvement. And one of the, issues with our town parks is that we have 8 of them, and
Right.
they're dispersed throughout the whole town, and it's been recommended by certain people that we try to focus on one,
Yeah.
improving one and making that our central park. And so the thought is that perhaps we would do this, a new playground, and apply for the CDBG funding for a playground at Hackett Hill.
I would love that.
Because it is one of the issues that get pointed out to us by constituents is that, like Pine Woods, it's off the road, so they don't necessarily
feel
feel
safe.
that safe there
Yeah,
if you're just a
right.
young mother by yourself. So I think that we kind of have to look at what we have and see where we should start focusing our energy. I think that is practical advice, and that's what a lot of other towns have, is like a central area. So Hackett seems to be it. So I think that, we had this conversation with the families the other day, and they had thought, well, Pine Woods is great also. But it seems, so I think we're going to kind of hone in on that.
But to get back to what you were saying,
Yeah.
Ken, is the, the chairlift, according to what, the county said, was they're trying to get away from them, because the chairlifts do take work, to set up. It's not like you just hop on it and go. You have to pull it down, you
True.
got to set it up.
There's a lot of movement.
And there's a lot, moving parts. If we were gonna provide access to, the basement, it'd have to be some kind of an elevator, not a full-scale, elevator
I know what you
like, we're used to, but we've done like a couple where they're just basically like a one-floor,
Yeah.
like lift,
Right.
that you can use. But,
Well,
there'd have
hopefully
to,
that's not gonna become an issue, but I was just
There'd
trying
have
to
to
think
be
of
a lot
something
of-
different, you know?
Because we did, that's one of the topics that we discussed with him.
yeah, the supervisor did discuss
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, and, you know, she made some recommendations as to how we could approach the application. But, you know, it is something that we've been exploring and considering, is to move the building and assessing department up to this space. And then what would happen is we would hold our board meetings over at the police court facility. So on Friday, Joe and I are meeting with the judges, who, you know, have expressed some concerns about it, but I think it's a good plan.
I think it's a
and-
great plan.
Yeah.
And, you know, but what we want to do, because I think the last two CDBG applications that we submitted, we were not funded, so we want to make sure we have a well-qualified application.
Mhm.
And Anne had indicated that, you know, this ADA, this change
Mhm.
might not really qualify, so, you know, so I.
It was
but I think
wishy-washy, and
She
she
was
was.
wishy-washy on it,
So,
and, yeah.
I mean, I would love to have a beautiful playground set over at
Yes.
Hackett. I mean, it
Yeah.
desperately needs it over there,
Mhm.
desperately.
I mean, there really isn't anything
There's
over there,
nothing.
right? I mean, I think
There's
there's,
a little
There
swing
is a
set.
swing
I know.
set, I
Yeah, but there's
believe,
nothing there to
but,
keep
yeah.
young family, young
Yeah.
kids. I mean,
You're
it
talking-
really, it's,
You're talking about like a very modern type
Yeah,
playground
modern,
for.
and it's interesting because a number of the other towns, like New Paltz and Red Hook, are both doing big community parks, and they are doing them with a lot of, it's like a barn raising, you know, a lot of community input, and, you know, at great expense. A lot of them, both communities started nonprofits for people to give donations to, you know, like Friends of the Parks kind
Yeah.
of thing, because they're very expensive. And the county did fund Julie's Jungle, but that is not an opportunity for us any longer.
Right.
You know, that's kind of where I was going with this whole idea, that, you know, maybe we could have a smaller version of Julie's Jungle, but, you know, Anne indicated that's not a possibility. So.
one thing we'll have to talk to, you know, if that does end up being the one project, I don't remember, because I did an application for another town and for playground stuff, and I think there may have to be some ADA component to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to just double check
That would
that.
be great if we could do that.
Yeah, I'm sure that does.
So,
Yeah.
which is okay, that, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
that's
good.
all fine,
For
and there,
sure.
you know, and
Yeah.
there are relatively, you know, simple things that you can do that, you know, the pieces of equipment can be used by all, you know, not just.
Yeah, one of the areas the parents were concerned about is the surface, you know, that it be safe and, I don't know, cushioned and that type of thing.
Well, yeah, and
which-
that's yes, and actually, that's part of the application we did last year for Green Tree Park, if you
Right.
remember.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we had
maybe
some.
we can use that.
We had some, you know, numbers for that, and, you know, that cushion material is, you know,
It's
pricey, but,
Mhm.
you know, again, it has to be safe. And again, we can look at a project that, you know, even though the grant award for something like that's like 100,000, I mean, if you want to do the project right and get a little bit more, I mean, there can
Yeah, we
be
can
some money
supplement it,
taken out of the
sure.
rec trust fund. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's what the rec commission, you know,
Yeah.
chooses to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can supplement the money too, so.
Okay, so those are the only two that we have possibilities at this time, but, you know, I extend that thought to you all for your wards to see if you can come up with some other possible projects. But we should also mention that it has to be geared or in a neighborhood of low to moderate income people, or provide a service to those populations that are considered low to moderate income. And unfortunately, disabled children are not considered that population, which I don't know how they come up with that. But it's also partly what you have to do is that there's maps that describe the areas
Yeah,
that
if you look
qualify.
at, the, and I have some extra copies here if anybody wants, a color copy, but.
I'll take one for
in,
sure, because I,
the package, the package that was sent, there's a link in there to, the maps, but.
yeah. That's okay.
I'm okay, I don't need
Yeah,
more Peter.
yeah.
Sunlight.
I have them in black and white. Mine didn't get color printed.
Give one to me.
That's funny because.
No, I can get it off the email you sent. Yes. So-
Pete, does the, I know one year we did the water fountain over at Pine Woods. Is that operable?
No, in fact,
Yeah, we found the hard way, that it's not operable.
it's had a leak, a significant water leak, and so I'm not sure
A
what.
water leak where? At the fountain
I
itself?
don't know, I asked Rob.
Somewhere's from the house to the fountain, from the garage up to the fountain, somewhere's there's a leak. And we don't know where.
Can you
All
check
right,
into
well, we
that?
should, yes, that's, the first I heard of it, because that's all, I mean, we did that,
Not too long ago.
I don't know. I
You
wanna
did it the
say
first year I
10
came
years.
in.
Was it?
Really? It's been that
was-
long ago? Oh, my God. All right.
Yeah, it was
So
2012, it
there
was 2012.
repaired or
Well, no,
was-
we put it through the community development block
Right.
grant,
We did the water.
block grant program. We got money to put in a water main that's tied into the Dutchess County Water Authority
Right.
system, and we've got like a meter pit, and I forget how it was, routed. It did go into the maintenance building, and then it went up to, the water
Yeah, it
fountain.
was there's a shut off in the maintenance building, that's where you shut it off, but somewhere it's between there to the fountain.
Hmm.
It's,
All right, I'll come
Yeah,
over
could
and
you
see,
look
yes,
into that?
that's the first I
Yeah.
heard about it.
Yeah, always around the US Open, people start playing tennis. And, of course, that was just concluded last night, but, yeah, but I mean, they're beautiful courts, and it's a great place to play, so, yeah. And also, we have the skate park there. Okay.
And for Hackett Hill, we have gotten, I'm trying to think of how many I know we got one community development block grant for Hackett. That was for when we put in a new septic system and septic tanks and all that, because, the other system, was old. I can't remember whether we got anything else for Hackett Hill, but, we have gotten funds in the past
The
there. so.
pavilion's in good shape there?
yeah, the pavilion's not bad, the one down Riverfront needs some help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
needed
not
some
in
help
the-
for a
it's
while.
not
But that
in
wouldn't apply there.
No.
No.
All right, well, Rob, thanks a
We could
lot.
always, we could always add another pavilion or something, whatever you guys wanna determine is best,
Mhm. All right, well, our survey's not out yet, so we won't
No.
have that input for this application, but I think that we have kind of a pretty
I think
good
so.
feel on this type of,
Great.
So we should
investment.
probably start looking at what type of
Equipment.
equipment that we may look to
Mhm.
put over at Hackett, so when we get together, maybe we can start, to discuss that.
well, maybe you can pull out what we applied for
Yeah.
Green Tree.
Yeah,
And we were not awarded that grant. And the year before, we had applied for monies to acquire and demolish the Roosevelt Fire Department, the
Right.
former Roosevelt Fire Department property.
Right.
And that is, again,
I know, that's
and
a
it's not in this tract.
that's a perfect, that's a perfect
It's right on the
spot.
border, and Ann said she has an additional research tool that allows her to go in and get even to greater detail
Detail.
than what these maps show, and she said it still didn't qualify, so
Mhm.
that's
That's
unfortunate.
unfortunate.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it is too bad, because it'd be a great use for that property. So, okay.
Here's
so-
the application, actually. No, we'll keep that. That's the whole application in there, so.
So I know
I'll
Rob
get-
has
I'll get
a,
in touch with
Rob, good luck to you, man.
yeah, has a long drive home, so he
Yeah.
hasn't moved back to Dutchess County yet, so
Yeah.
So thank you for staying late. I know it's been a
Thank you.
long day. All right, see you.
Thanks, Rob.
see
Take
you
care,
soon.
Rob. Good
All
to
right.
see you.
Thanks, Rob.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys later in the week.
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and just before, yeah, go ahead, Rob. I just wanted to mention that, of course, we're having the ceremony put on by Paul Tegmeyer
Wednesday.
on Wednesday, September 11th at 6:30. Isn't that when it starts?
Mhm.
Yeah, 6:30.
6:30.
So I just wanted to remind the public about that. Okay, so moving on then, we now have the town highway superintendent and engineer to talk about revising our standards of roads. So Howie, thanks for joining us too. I know it's a long day for you guys. You guys start, what time do you guys start? 6:30, 7?
7.
Okay, well, thanks. So do you want to talk a little bit about how this arose, or?
I'll start it, and then I'll give it over to Pete, because he has all the specifics. This year, we've had a lot of basins collapse, which kind of drew a red flag. Of course, everybody knows about East Dorsey and West Dorsey and Roosevelt Road. We've been repairing basins there forever. But this year, up on Conley Drive, we had 5, almost total about 40 basins.
Collapse.
Yes.
Wow.
And it just drew the attention of the way jobs were done. And so I took a look at our road specs, and they haven't been updated since the 70s.
Wow.
And brick and mortar was a main problem. And brick and mortar doesn't hold up. So I contacted Pete, I talked to the Highways Association, they told me a town specs to look at from a town of Malta, just to get an idea of the newer. And everything is, you know, a Ford riser, or you buy a riser, which is a lot better than brick and mortar, and it'll last. So the main concern is saving taxpayers money down the road. If we don't change them, this is just gonna continue. And as we put more and more in, you know, we wanna make sure if somebody comes in and does a job for us, that they do it the right way.
What do you think the cost is for repairing, per, man hour, materials? I mean, what does it even cost? I have no idea.
It's not cheap. About half of my budget goes, my drainage budget, which there's a lot of drainage we could be doing instead.
Right.
So I think if we make this correction and we do the repairs in the next so many years, eventually we'll be out of that.
Gotcha.
So Howie, this is to provide to the contractors that do the roads? Is that the
Yes,
intent?
we put in things the way we know is right,
Uh-huh.
but contractors, if they read our town specs,
Right.
Oh, I see.
Well, this
So-
would always, this would also apply to if we get a new subdivision
Right.
road.
Yeah, a
So-
new road.
But it would also cover situations where, and we have several, where a development was started years ago, it sat for a while for
Right.
whatever, the reason, and now somebody picks it up again, so we've had like a road that's probably 80% like done, that's sat for a while, so, so it's not just, again, it's how we said the specs were done generally in, the 70s. So, we just took a look at chapter 111, which talks about, the procedure for getting road plans approved if it's part of a subdivision, talks about the process for dedication, of roads when the roads are done. But, the majority of it is, and it's not that much to make, the changes, to upgrade, but it's more to bring, the materials up to current specifications, like Howie said, when they put, the catch basins in, they put, the grate on top. The old way was to use brick like in mortar to make an adjustment to get the final, grade, and that's what's been creating, the problem. So, the material specs are just, old.
Yeah.
So they need to be brought up to current, like materials. Some of the samples that we've seen, they do a lot of reference to the Department of Transportation standard specs, so you don't have to redo everything. You can reference, the DOT specs. So, it shouldn't be something that's a real huge
All right, well, let's just do it.
undertaking, but
Yeah.
it does need
I'm
to be
thinking it
done.
Seems like a no-brainer to
Seems
me.
like
Yeah,
a
it does need to
no-brainer.
be
I
done.
mean,
Right.
if we spend some money to get it done, it's gonna save us in the
Let's
long
do
run.
it.
Yeah,
You know,
let's,
And we wanna put a time limit on when a development starts.
yeah.
And after so many years, if it's not complete, they have to redo the sub-base.
Yeah, that's really great. I think it's perfect. So what do we have to do? Like, just
Doesn't the
change it
state,
by law, or,
under MS4, Pete, don't they have
Need to,
specifications?
revise the road specs?
yeah.
I'm sorry, David,
I think we just
MS4, I go to those
have-
meetings, and the state has specifications on the drainage, right? So wouldn't we have to, anything new would have to be that way?
Yes, and that's an excellent point, and one of the things that I put right on, the cover here was that we have to put in just a small blurb on a stormwater management section to, like, incorporate, the DEC stormwater regs that, like Tad and I come and,
Right.
talk to you guys about that we do every year.
I go with Tad too.
Yeah,
That's right.
so we have to put like a section in there because, the work on a new road has to also conform to that, so.
Right.
Okay, so what would the next step be?
Well, I think I would need to provide, an estimate to the town for, what our cost would be to work with Howie, to update these. One of the things that I don't know how we do is, I don't know if we can get a Word, like, version of, the specs, or do they have to be totally retyped?
Well, you got
Warren?
them from Malta, the town of
Well-
Malta?
Well, that was just to look at. I mean, we
Right.
just can't take theirs and.
Why not?
Are you gonna be totally redoing ours, or just?
We're gonna be
amending?
updating what we had, so.
When was it last done?
Yeah.
I mean, there's been like a few updates, but, I mean, have we ever redone like a whole section of our zoning code?
I mean, that hasn't been done in Word, where we just retype it?
Right, where I can go edit something, or does like somebody have to sit down and retype the whole thing? I have to,
There might be a way of taking that old road specs and converting them somehow so that they can be,
I think I
Yeah, I
can
mean,
get
you
a
can-
PDF.
but that's
You can
beyond
scan
my
it, or
capabilities.
take a PDF and you can edit a
Yeah.
PDF.
We
I mean,
may be able to
think
do that,
there's a
Can you
so.
edit it,
If you need,
You can edit it?
yeah,
Yeah.
you need
can
software to do it, but.
Yeah, I'm pretty
But
pretty
I
sure.
have
that-
it, and so I can help you with that if you need.
Okay.
He can do anything. It's magic.
Thanks,
How
Neil.
many, how many pages? You said it's like 50 pages.
Yeah, but it's not like every single page that has to be
Right,
edited,
Right.
but,
Actually, some pages are coming out.
yeah, some pages
Yeah, I mean,
are coming. with-
maybe we could work from the old specs if it becomes a problem, and then leave the pages in that are gonna stay there, and then just add new pages, or retype the pages where you're making making changes.
Well, let's see if we can do, the PDF and be able to edit. I think that, the girls in the office probably have that program, but I didn't get a chance to ask them today. So let me
Yeah, just let me know.
go look at it a little bit, further, and then we'll get back to you.
All right, so then you'll give us a cost,
Yeah.
an estimate for
Yep.
updating the regulations.
And then we'll work with Howie, and I can Tad, and then we'll bring something back to, the town board, and,
Okay.
I'm sure you're gonna be really interested in all the things that we're gonna change, right?
I just have utter confidence in you two.
I am.
Just tell us what
It'll
needs to be
save us
done.
money.
That's
That's the key.
all we
right.
care about.
I'm in.
Nice.
So, before you go, though, we had a resident contact us today about the idea of a crosswalk on South Cross Road. And Neil and I and Howie all thought it was a good idea.
Where?
Where would it be exactly, Neil? Do you
Where'd you
remember?
say, from Golden Meadows?
It would
From
be Louise Place, straight
Okay.
across, and Gloria Drive, straight across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
what
for
would
safety,
the
safe,
next
high
steps
school
on
students.
that be? Warren, would we have to?
On this?
For a crosswalk on South Cross Road, it's a town road.
Up near the high
Do
school.
we have to get permission of DOT, or?
It's our road.
I don't think so, it's our road, but,
But I kind of
I think it does.
have a recollection that
To
we
what,
have
put
to
in a
get
crosswalk?
DOT. But don't we have a flashing beacon there? Didn't we, when, after that accident? We didn't do, I thought, oh, we lowered the speed limit.
We lowered the speed
We
limit.
lowered the
We did
speed
do
limit.
that.
I can check on that, but I have a feeling that you do need DOT approval for the crosswalk.
Well, for a
Even on a
crosswalk,
town road,
yeah, I mean, we have to put, warning signs ahead and, on either end, and I don't know how far we have to go in terms of, if you have to get into a flashing beacon, I'd have to look at it, I don't remember.
Yeah, then you need power out there.
Well, my goal is to go in that area and pave this coming year, so.
So you could dig in right there, it'd be easy.
Yeah, but you have to,
They
like
have
I
to
said,
do
you
that.
have to electrify it. and-
So what, isn't there two roads that intersect there, Louise
It's
and this?
Louise and Gloria.
Yeah,
They
so what
want
about,
one in each, right?
why do they want, Gloria,
Well, the kids that
Louise?
go to school or teachers that live in there, they wanna be able to
Walk
cross.
across.
But did you say both, Howie, or just the one, when you made?
Well, I'm sure they're not gonna walk from one side of the development to the other side.
Well, that's what
and
I'm
cross
saying,
there.
so you'd
They're
want
gonna-
two,
Yes.
yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
All right.
Alright,
It's
well,
not like it's not done if you go to Arlington and out that way,
Yeah.
there's crosswalks all over there.
Be like the one at Cromwell Place, that kind of flashing,
No, I don't.
just
think
when
we-
they demand it?
I don't think we'd have to get into that there.
No.
That was done because it was on a state highway. but
Right.
We
That
just
works
have to
for you.
look and see what the requirements are. I
you
don't
might want
remember.
to start with DPW, see what they say
Yeah.
about that.
they might have. And actually, at the Dutchess County Mayors and Supervisors meeting last week, the supervisor of Pleasant Valley was discussing new regulation changes from DOT that if towns apply to have any speed limit change, the town is then responsible for DOT's research,
Oh,
the
yeah.
cost of
Yeah,
DOT's
they-
research.
Plus
Yeah,
Jesus.
so we're gonna actually write a letter
they'll-
opposing that.
they never approved the speed reductions anyways. That doesn't-
Yeah, well, that's
Is that
what
right?
somebody said, but I guess they want to penalize you for even asking.
Yes, they're
Yes.
adding insult to injury.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You charge for your time.
So Howie, you spoke a little bit, you and I, about paving of roads. Do you want to discuss that at all
I
tonight,
think
or-
we should wait until we
Wait.
have the budget discussion.
Okay.
For next year, you mean?
No, just
Oh.
in general.
Well,
Oh,
I'd like to do a workshop anyway.
Okay,
Right.
Yeah,
perfect, okay.
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
yeah. It's because we have to talk, we want to do so
We're gonna have
much.
to do a fundraiser, I see you, she's looking at me. So.
Friends of Hyde Park
We're gonna
Roads.
see the highway
We're
guys
gonna have
out
a lot
there
of,
doing a little boot drive.
He was thinking of going out on 9G with a
A little-
hat,
A little
but-
boot drive.
Yeah.
Do they fall, and I didn't look at the map, but is that where you're looking to get funding from? Is that in the area where the sidewalks in that crossing can be done?
Let's see.
That's 9G, so we're up
It's
9G.
9G, South Cross.
No.
No,
No.
no, it's not. It's up in
Yeah, because that would have been a good idea.
South well, that's funny.
It is.
It's
It
right
is.
on the border.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
it's
it's
Louise
on-
Place.
It's on the south side. It ends on the south side of South Cross Road.
You'd probably be in the same situation with.
That's the fire.
that we
Yes.
did.
It's right on the border.
At your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, but if it included, the road.
Yeah, right.
And we were working in the road, I don't know.
Okay, well, we could ask Ann to take a closer look at that, but it probably is not.
Just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea, Howie. Okay,
All ready?
that's all right, thank you.
Thanks, Howie.
All right,
Thanks, guys.
and Pete, was there anything else? I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know, is there anything else for me?
Is Pete gonna talk about,
Do we want-
Howie, hold on,
Oh,
Howie.
Neil's
Them
gonna
up
give
here
us
for-
an update.
Yes,
Yeah,
do we
I'll
want them up
Yeah,
here?
you want to hang out here? Actually,
Howie, you should stay
Howie,
up.
you probably
Howie.
should too.
You're not
Because
done yet,
We're
brother.
going to talk about the
Come back here, young man.
Statsburg flooding.
Oh,
And actually,
Yeah.
Neil has a bit of an update, and
So Howie and Pete devised a plan to help mitigate some of the flooding in Statsburg Village at Old Post Road and the corner of Old Post Road and Milford Avenue. The flooding affects a number of properties, including the town road. And Howie and Pete determined that if they enlarged a pipe from 36 feet to 60 feet, is that correct?
36
inches,
inches,
sorry,
yeah.
to 6, don't want to make that mistake,
Inches,
right?
feet.
That it obviously would greatly increase the water flow and help mitigate some of that flooding. So we've been waiting. We need a couple of easements from the property owners because we need access to the properties. We've been hashing out details, and I think that we're now all on the same page, and it just, we're awaiting signatures, and we'll be able to bid this out. Right,
Okay.
guys?
Yeah, assuming that we get, not assuming, it appears that we are going to get, the easements. It's probably too late, for this year, because, we'd have to draw up a plan, put it out for bid, and then, we just may get into bad weather. I'd rather just wait and try to get on somebody's list of jobs for first thing next year.
Fortunately, the summer has not been that bad, and we're almost halfway into September, so hopefully we'll dodge the bullet that happened. Last summer was terrible,
Yeah,
or September was really bad.
yeah.
So it's not much, we can't do it within 2 weeks, so.
No,
No.
it's a process. Well,
Yeah,
it did involve some legal work in terms of developing the easements and forming consensus and
It
developing.
really
the-
should help.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
We just did a pipe job up on the Mulford, a little further up, that was flooding. So that should relieve some of the people on the corner of Hughes and Mulford. And next year, we're gonna go up on the high side of Hughes and replace a cross pipe up there to kind of help to keep everything away and, less towards that area.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
All right, so we'll keep everybody posted. I know people in Statsburg are very anxious to see us move ahead, so.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks,
well,
guys.
Thanks, gentlemen. All
Thanks,
right, have
guys.
a good night.
Thank you.
See ya.
And Pete, you'll look at that water fountain?
Yeah, I'll call.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you ready to roll there, down there?
Yeah, I'm all
Ward
set.
1?
Yeah. Resolution 99-1 of 2019, resolution commencing the local law adoption process for local law number G of the year 2019, entitled "A Local Law Amending the Town of Hyde Park Code to amend Article 2, Section 108-2.2, to add a new definition of the term family, and amending Article 33, Section 108-3.3 of the Code to vest the Zoning Board of Appeals with the power to make a determination as to whether a group of more than 5 unrelated persons occupying a single dwelling unit constitutes a family, as that term is now defined in the zoning code.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
And we're going to set the public hearing for that, for October 7th at 7:05 PM. And just a little background on this law is that we've been asked, had a lot of complaints, both from the residents of the Riverview Circle and the other subdivisions that are in close proximity to Marist, as well as from residents of Roosevelt Road, who are finding that people are using single-family homes to house many people, much more than, and they're unrelated people, so they don't constitute a family, and these are designed for single-family homes. So this is a law that the town attorney adopted by examining various other municipalities' laws, and it's available on the website. I don't know, Warren, do you want to kind of review the parameters of
Yeah,
it,
we actually not only looked at other municipalities, but looked to see whether those laws were consistent with decisional laws of the Supreme Court and the courts in the Court of New York State. And the definition that we've come up with, where there's a presumption that more than 5 people who are not related by blood, marriage, legal adoption, or foster care do not constitute the functional equivalent of a traditional family. But to meet the constitutional standards for such a law, our law provides that the group will have an opportunity to demonstrate to the Zoning Board of Appeals that they do in fact constitute a family by applying the criteria that we set forth in the local law. So we're hoping that this would be a vehicle for controlling some of the problems that we've had with overburdening of single-family residences. And we'll explain the law in more detail at the public hearing.
Okay. Alrighty, so may I have a, did we already do that? We did. And we all voted?
No.
Oh.
We didn't
I thought
vote.
so. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye. Now we did.
Okay.
Resolution 992 of 2019, resolution adopting local law H of the year 2019 entitled, a local law.
We're gonna
Oh,
defer.
sorry, yeah, we're going to have to pull that too.
I thought we pulled 5.
We pulled 5, but we also are not able to adopt the local
Okay.
law for the building inspector. So may I have a motion to pull resolution number 2?
Make a motion?
And second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, that'll be on the 23rd.
So we go on to 3.
So, yeah, go on to 3, Dave.
Take me a minute to get to it, that law's long. Oh, my God. No, it's 4.
Yeah, it's a hard time finding them here today.
There's
Well,
3.
Number 3 is the
Yeah,
filming.
here.
I can read
Here,
it.
Dave.
You got it?
I can read it. Resolution 99-3 of 2019, resolution commencing the local law adoption process for local law number 1 of the year 2019, entitled A Local Law Amending the Town of Hyde Park Town Code to enact a new Chapter 52 entitled Filming and Videotaping.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye. Resolution 994 of 2019, resolution commencing local law number 1, or number J, of the year 2018, a local law amending Chapter 101 of the Town Code entitled Telecommunications Towers and Facilities, and the Town of Hyde Park Town Code Schedule of Use Regulations.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Warren, do we need to repeal the moratorium? Or does that automatically expire?
It's automatically expires, but let me check to see if we do it. I'll put one on for the
For the next one,
23rd,
okay.
yeah.
And just, it had just occurred to me that we will need a law to override the tax cap, even though we don't anticipate doing that, but just as a
Yeah.
heads up. Okay,
Okay, we're skipping 5. Resolution 9-6 of 2019, resolution acknowledging the appointment and authorizing the salary of full-time motor equipment operator Mark A. Seward for the Town of Hyde Park Highway Department.
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome, Mark. Resolution 99-7 of 2019, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Board to approve the purchase of a new vehicle for the Town of Hyde Park Police Department fleet.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye. Resolution 99-8 of 2019, Town of Hyde Park Town Supervisor to execute an additional lease agreement to increase the town's current lease agreement with New York Communications Company, Inc., NYCO MCO, for additional radios/equipment for the Town of Hyde Park Police Fleet.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye. Resolution 99-9 of 2019, on 9's, resolution authorizing the Hyde Park Town Supervisor to execute an agreement with Calling Grace Productions LLC, Nook for the filming within the town of Hyde Park.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 9-10 of 2019, resolution authorizing the release of the balance of escrow from the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board according to resolution number 19-C.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 99-11 of 2019, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Board to approve Town of Hyde Park Planning Board and Zoning Board members to attend the 2019 Planning and Zoning School.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Am I allowed to read this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Resolution designating Neil Krupnick as the primary representative and Supervisor Aileen Rohr as the alternate representative for the Hudson River Drinking Water Intermunicipal Council.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome.
Resolution 99-13 of 2019, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Deputy Controller and Senior Account Clerk to attend the New York GOFA GHI FDN Accounting and Financial Reporting Workshop, November 20th to 21st in New Paltz, New York.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 9-14 of 2019, resolution approving budget revisions to the Town of Hyde Park for the period of August 2019, budget revisions number 2019-08.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I'll do the last two. So 99-15 of 2019, resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute the New York Class Municipal Cooperative Investment Agreement on behalf of the town of Hyde Park.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And then I guess this would be resolution 9916. We're going to set a special meeting for September 30th at 7 p.m. To receive the supervisor's tentative budget.
Nice. I'm glad
Second.
I remembered that. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I neglected to offer public comment, so anyone who would like to make public comment on any of the resolutions, please join us at the podium, state your name, your address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening. Hi. I don't have a comment necessarily on the resolutions that were stated, but I have a comment concerning our residence where we live.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Yvette Thomas,
And what's your address?
32 Bennett Road.
32?
Bennett?
Bennett
Oh, okay.
Road,
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Ken.
How are
Hi.
you?
Okay. Hi, Joe. I'm here to talk about, and I'm going to read partially of the email that was sent, but not all of it. I sent this email on August 28th to Mr. Truitt, and it states that the reason I'm here is to speak about the sporadic shooting that takes place on the outdoor shooting range right next to me. Okay. I must say that it is quite loud and unpredictable. It is loud enough to wake me out of bed as early as 8:30 a.m. in the morning. When I first moved here, the shooting with my children, the shooting wasn't as often. But as the years progress, and recently, it is as long as 3 to 4 days consecutively, starting from morning and going on until evening hours. What can be done about this? I know that our police officers who serve the public needs to train. Yet, since they don't live in the surrounding area or next to it, how can they understand what we are going through? I can imagine how the officers, after a long day of work, would like to go home to a tranquil, quiet environment. However, that is not the case for us, the residents that live here or there on Bennett Road. One solution to this continuous noise is the idea of putting up a wall barrier to block some of the shooting sounds. Even building an indoor shooting range. I'm a little bit nervous.
No, don't be.
No, really.
These are
Okay.
really good comments, and
Yeah.
we appreciate you coming.
We've been there, so
Yeah,
I'm glad that
yeah,
you're here
thank
tonight.
you for being here.
Thank you. So the point is, for myself, my neighbors, and even my sons, we're seeking some sort of peace and quiet and a solution to this matter. And this is nothing against our officers.
Of
We know they
course.
have to train, and it's good for them to train in all different types of weather.
Yeah.
But I believe it's unfair, not only for us, but also for the officers who don't have a place where they can actually feel, comfortable enough to not feeling they're disturbing the residents that live there. And I think it's unfair for them and also for us that have to come home and then to hear this continuous. And it's not every single day, maybe every other day, but the noise doesn't stay 200 feet away.
No.
So
Okay.
that's
Did-
my concern.
Did, if you don't mind me asking, did Mr. Truitt get back to you?
Actually, he did.
Okay.
He said he will look into it. And I thank you, Ken,
you're
and
welcome.
Joe, for responding so quickly for my request for some help concerning this matter of the shooting. shooting range.
Okay, I think we should set up a meeting with the county.
Oh, I agree.
yeah,
I
yeah.
have the lieutenant's name who's in charge of the range there.
Because, Ken did bring it to my attention. We consulted with the zoning administrator, actually talked to Warren about it as well, so.
We're working as hard as we can
Yeah.
in here, so
Yeah,
I'm
well,
glad that you're here tonight.
I'm glad
Thank
that
you.
you brought it to our attention, and we'll follow up, okay?
Okay, thank
And,
you.
maybe you'd like to provide your comments? It was an email you read for? from?
Well, that was basically my comment.
Okay, but if you
and-
want to leave them in writing, that would be fine, too.
Sure, I can do that.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
good.
Yeah, that would be
That way
good.
they're in the record, so if you want to leave that with us tonight, your
Sure.
email, that'd be great.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
bet. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just amended it to include the repeal of the moratorium, so let's revisit it, so
Okay.
we don't have to wait.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay, so we are going to amend well, you tell us, Warren.
Okay, we're going to recommend the local law amending Chapter 101 of the Town Code entitled Telecommunications Towers and Facilities,
Yeah.
to add a new Section 4, which reads as follows. The moratorium law on telecommunications towers and facilities enacted on May 6, 2019 is hereby repealed. And then each of the following sections is renumbered accordingly. That way we don't have to wait another month to do.
What number was that? I'm just, which number resolution was that? It's number four. Yeah, so it's resolution number
And I'll
four.
give you a clean- I'll
So
give you a
then may I have a motion to amend as said?
I make a motion?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, and so now let's vote on that law. Can I have someone make a motion?
Make a motion?
A second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then I'm going to need a motion to enter executive
I
session
make a motion?
to discuss a legal
Second.
matter. Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Yeah, Bet, what's the house number again?
Have her come in right away, or-
32.
Let's discuss it then.
Yeah, please, yeah, if you want to give it to
Try
the
not to
cleark
be too
here,
long,
give it to
Donna.
Is that on
Donna.
the state hospital grounds?
Okay.
gonna have like another 3 hours in there, and they're like, no, Donna's out there.
All right, so may I have a motion to return from executive
I make a
session?
motion.
Second.
And actually, a decision was made. We have been exploring ways to address the property directly across from Town Hall, the former Dodge dealership. As many people know, as actually anyone who drives down Route 9 knows, that that property is an eyesore. It's been in this perpetual state for more than 10 years. And the the property owner has not made any efforts to change it. So, we're exploring ways to address that. And so the first step, as been advised to us by our attorney, is to pay for an appraisal to find out the true value of the property. So what we discussed in executive session is exactly that we will go forward on ordering an appraisal to determine the value of the property, so we'll know our next steps on the property will be well informed. So Warren, did you want to mention anything else?
Sure, this is Resolution 99 of 2019. Town Board has determined that it would be in the best interest of the town of Hyde Park to pursue the acquisition of the former Hyde Park Motor Company property located at 4390 Albany Post Road in the town of Hyde Park, having tax parcels numbers, I listed the tax parcels, for public purposes, and whereas the town has received a proposal to prepare a preliminary appraisal report from Hudson Valley Appraisal Corporation at a cost of $3,800, which the town could use in negotiations for the purchase of the property or alternatively for purposes of acquisition of the property through other means. And whereas the town board has reviewed the said proposal and has determined the same is acceptable, now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute an agreement approved by the attorney to the town and the town controller with Hudson Valley Appraisal Corporation for the preparation of a preliminary appraisal report in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the Hudson Valley Appraisal Corporation bid letter dated August 28, 2019, and to commission a title search of the property at a cost of approximately $650.
Okay, may I have a motion to add the resolution to the agenda?
I make that motion?
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
And then may I have a motion to support that
I
resolution?
make that motion.
I gladly second it.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, so that's good work, and may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second that?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, well, thanks, everyone. Thank you, Donna.
You know,
Lauren,
I don't
so
think-
you guys are all meeting tomorrow?
I don't think Dave was-
I'm not